Welcome back to the Big Ideas Theater. I'm Ed Highland, and this is a great opportunity for us to talk about a very serious public health concern, and that's vaping. Mary Martinez-Sack joining us to get into this very serious discussion. It's making news so much these days with all the illnesses that are being tied to vaping.
Yes, absolutely, and some of our governmental organizations are very involved, as well as respiratory care, just trying to investigate why these deaths are occurring, and it's a very big concern, absolutely.
What can you give us in terms of an overview of what we know at this point?
Sure, so what we know in terms of the constituents of these devices, with the deaths, we're thinking that it's vitamin E acetate, which is an oil. You know, it's used in skin products, it's used in other types of products that are not to be inhaled. So when you start to inhale something like vitamin E acetate, that's when you end up with lipoid pneumonias or other types of illnesses that affect your respiratory system. And that's what they're thinking is the culprit in these devices, in particular associated with the THC that's being inhaled.
Now, is this unique in terms of the type of illness that you're seeing? I mean, in other words, people have been smoking for many years and had other respiratory-related illnesses, but is this one a little bit different? Does it have a different stamp to it because of the way it's being done?
I think so. Well, first of all, e-cigarettes are relatively new, and so a new product brings around about new illnesses and new issues, and so definitely the lipoid pneumonia is of concern. So we had one first case and a death, and then we have a repeated one. And so we start to have a case series, and from an epidemiological standpoint, we start to say, what is going on here? Is it something that's associated with other illnesses that we've seen in the past, or associated with other types of items of interest? And the only common theme has been the e-cigarettes with the THC, or without in some cases, that we're seeing here.
Now, is there enough evidence to say that one of the arguments that has often been mentioned with vaping is that it is a method to stop smoking regular cigarettes?
Yes, and so definitely it's harm reduction. So for someone who typically smokes a cigarette, we know there's 7,000 chemicals, we know it causes cancer, we know it causes emphysema. But for an individual such as a young adult that has never smoked cigarettes, we say that it's very dangerous. High levels of nicotine that lead to addiction, that lead to smoking cigarettes, is our biggest concern. But some organizations will say that e-cigarettes are helpful in getting people to quit smoking. However, the regulation needs to play into the part of the, being able to advocate for it.
Now, I had heard, and again, this could have been a rumor I just heard, but that there was a difference between what was happening in the U.S. versus what was happening in other parts of the world. In other words, the serious illnesses and the deaths had been occurring here, but they weren't seeing that in different parts of the world.
Yes, and so it's interesting if you kind of even look at things from different perspectives, even just banning devices. So you have New Zealand that totally bans it. You have the UK, who is a proponent of these devices. They're thinking these are primarily bought off the street. So they're purchased, they're illegal, and so, maybe they're also not doing the investigations like we're doing, and they're not really keying in on the issue. I'm not sure, but definitely in the United States, the Centers for Disease Control is concerned when any kind of case series like this occurs, is trying to understand what is the cause.
Is there a movement, an advocacy to try and either get these devices banned or at least seriously restrict their availability?
Yes, and so, our current president is wanting to change the age, but states are as well, to increase the age to 21. Some states have already increased the age to 21 years for these products, and it's sort of state by state. There are organizations that definitely advocate for it. The American Association of Pediatrics wants them banned altogether, but the first step, you sometimes with policy change, you have to take baby steps, and so definitely there's an interest to try to get them out of the hands of youth and young adults, or those who are what we call cigarette naive, have never smoked cigarettes.
Is there a concern with more and more states moving toward lessening the restrictions on marijuana, for example? Many states are starting to look at legalizing, or at least getting it out there on a broader basis, that this is a problem that's going to spread.
Yes, so definitely we're seeing increasing every year, the policies changing and states allowing THC. Eventually it'll be probably in all of the states. And this is the product. So this is using a device like an electronic cigarette to inhale THC. So So it's the device itself. You know, you have these propellants in it, you have these components in it, and so it's a different way to inhale THC, and I think that's the biggest issue. So what are they adding to it to make that propellant and make that vapor, that aerosol occur in these devices, different from perhaps a joint or another way to inhale THC?
So what do we do from here? I mean, it's just looking at trying to get more education out there. Is there an answer?
Yeah, so policy for certain. We need regulation. We need to know what's in these products. We can't have them out there and individuals purchasing them from stores not knowing if there's nicotine in them or no nicotine in them, because the studies are saying that they're all different. They have different amounts of chemicals in them, and so I think one is regulation, two is knowledge and education, as you mentioned, is really letting individuals know everything we know about these products, that they do have chemicals in them, they do have cancer-causing agents in them, and then letting those individuals make informed decisions so that they make the right decision for them if they're a current smoker to quit smoking. You know, there's also the FDA products that we know are approved, the patch, the gum, the lozenge, but mostly keeping them out of the hands of youth and young adults who are cigarette naive.
Always boils back to education and awareness, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
All right, Mary, thank you so much for coming by and sharing this update on vaping.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for having me.
And this is the Big Ideas Theater at AARC. I'm Ed Highland.